Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Hopley. We're going to do the next part of our video for place value relationships. The number we're looking at tonight is 25,518. I can tell we're going to be comparing the values of the fives because that's the only digit that repeats in this number. So first things first, we're always going to change all of these words in our statement to be numbers. So our sentence frame says the underlined 5 is blank times blanker than the other 5. So the underlined 5, if I go in and make my little place value chart, the underlined 5 is a 5 in the hundreds place. So the value is 500. I'm going to fill that in down here. And if it helps you on your paper to kind of like cross this out, this makes our lives a lot easier. Okay, now I'm going to look at the other 5. The other 5, I know the underlined one is in the hundreds place. The other 5 is a 5 in the thousands place. The other 5 has a value of 5,000. Okay, so now let's see if it's a little bit easier to fill in our second blank, the greater than or less than blank. Now that I have those words replaced with numbers. The underlined 5 is blank times blanker than the other 5. 500 is blank times greater than 5,000, or 500 is blank times less than 5,000. 500 is greater than 5,000. 500 is less than 5,000. This time it's less. We have the smaller number first. 500 is less than 5,000. I always want you to go back and check with the numbers and see if this word makes sense. Okay, now that we filled in that blank, we're going to go back to our number and think about shifts. So we're talking about 500 compared to the 5 in the thousands place. I know to get from the thousands place to the hundreds place is just one shift. Those places are next door neighbors. The 5s are right next to each other. There's no space between them. So if they're one shift away, how many times is that? And let's think about it. How many times does 500 go in 5,000? 10 times. Good. So 500 is 10 times less than 5,000. All right. So 500 10 times would give us 5,000. 500 and so when we start off with the smaller number, the translating isn't quite as easy. 500, let's go in with this color first. 10 times equals 5,000. 500 10 times is 5,000. Or, if I go in and switch the order here, if I start off with 5,000, that's equal to, 5,000 divided by 10 equals 500. We could check that with the affixing 0 rule. All right. That's question number 3. Last question of the worksheet. This time we're comparing two different numbers. We're comparing 3,127. The underlined digit is a 7. to the 7 and 47,182. So these numbers share many digits, but they tell us in the problem that we're talking about the 7. So the sentence frame says the 7 and 47,182 is blank times blanker than the 7 and 3,127. All right, I'm going to go in and do my translating. The 7 and 47,182. Since that 7's in the thousands place, its value is 7,000. All right, is sometimes greater than or less than the 7 and 3,127. All right, well, this 7's in the ones place. So the value of that 7 is plain old 7. All right, let's see if we can fill in greater than or less. 7,000 is sometimes greater than 7, or 7,000 is sometimes less than 7. 7,000 is greater than 7. 7,000 is less than 7. I hope you guys can hear it. 7,000 is greater than 7. All right, now let's figure out how many times greater. I'm gonna go to my numbers. It's a little bit easier here if we stack them. So I'm gonna put these numbers in a quickie place value chart. 47,182. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. And I'm gonna count my shifts going from one 7 to the other. So my first shift takes me from the ones place to the tens place. I didn't land on a 7 though, so I gotta keep going. Second shift takes me to the hundreds place. Third shift, I finally land on my second 7 in the thousands place. So that was 1, 2, 3 shifts. And let's just listen to those values. 7,000 compared to 7. How many times can 7 go into 7,000? 7 times what would give us 7,000? What does 3 shifts represent? 1,000, you got it. So the 7 and 47,182 is 1,000 times greater than the 7 and 3,127. Let's write that as an equation. 7,000 is 7,000 equals 1,000 times 7. And you can check that with the affixing 0 rule. But hopefully that's one that we could do on our own in our head. 7 times 1,000 equals 7,000. All right. The very last thing we're going to do here, guys, is write our because statement. You're going to be asked to explain on your assessment at least once. How do we know? What did we do to figure out that this 7 is 1,000 times more than this 7's value? So we can fill in this because statement with 2 things. And I always say, like, more is better. So if you want to include both of these parts in your equation, I'm all for that. The first way we knew is by our shifts. So we took 1, 2, 3 shifts to get from the ones to the thousands place. So because it took 3 shifts to go from the 7 in the ones place to the 7 in the thousands place. That's the first way we knew, guys. We knew by counting our shifts. The second way we knew is our equation. So we can also say, I know, we don't need a period there, 7,000 equals 1,000 times 7. That's how we know 7,000 is 1,000 times greater than 7, because 7,000 equals 1,000 times 7. So in your because, you're going to talk about shifts, and you're going to include an equation. And that will give you a really thorough because statement. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's independent work. Talk to you soon.